Welcome back to It's Only Money here on Real Radio 104.1 with financial advisors from Edgewater Family Wealth, Tammy and Scott Brown. I'm Ryan from the Monsters, and it is another beautiful Sunday, and I finally just got all my second hurricane debris picked up, so I'm excited about that.
Yes.
And how are you gentlemen doing today?
We're doing well.
Fantastic.
Excellent. Right out the gate, going to ask a personal question. Living in Florida still, good investment?
Well, it makes you wonder, doesn't it?
It does.
I've been considering putting life preservers in my garage just in case. I mean, the water, this last one wasn't as bad as obviously it was Ian, right? The one before.
Oh, so you still got water?
I still got water in my garage on this
through
latest
Nicole?
one. Mm-hmm. Yeah, a little bit. I'm in a low spot in College Park there, and it seems that everybody seems to pull their plug, and it all drains down to me. But yeah, on average, it's been a little bit of an interesting hurricane season.
Yeah, it's I'm at the point like it seems like it's 2022. Also, let's take all the power poles, this weird old technology where we hold it up in the air, just bury it all. But then someone pointed out to me that the energy companies are publicly traded companies, and they would have to put money into it, which means less profits for shareholders.
Doggone profits. Now, didn't they in Winter Park though? Didn't they bury all their lines in Winter Park?
Yes,
I believe they did, and
they did that in Wekiva too. When I lived there back in the day, like they just came through one day and did it, and then power still was a problem.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't lose power in this last one.
No.
I got some flickers, but it didn't go out. So yeah, no, it's definitely antiquated to have those lines hanging up there, but I don't expect anything to be done about that anytime soon.
Yeah, it's just, I guess it's one of those things we got to deal with. But I was watching the people then on the coast and the people that lost their houses. I feel for you.
Mm-hmm.
But if I was an insurance company, I'd be like, yeah, I'm out. Like I get why they left. And it seems like with the way not political, just the world is changing for whatever reason.
Yes,
it's changing.
Whatever those reasons are, nobody knows.
On paper, it's clearly changing. Yes. So it just seems like to live like right on the coast, where like I saw some of those places that had like 20 feet of what used to be seawall gone, and then like half a swimming pool's hanging, and it's like, oh,
houses that have been there since the 60s, by the way.
Yeah. And it's just like, oh, I guess we just can't live on a coast anymore. It's what I gathered from that.
Well, the coast is coming inland, so, it depends. The people that were a block away are now soon to have waterfront property. But, yeah, I mean, welcome to Florida. Your taxes are low, but, boy, are you going to get soggy from time to time. Listen, if you're an insurance company, why would you? Why? I mean, listen, I grew up at the beach. I'm from St. Pete. I lived on the beach, and I loved every second of it. But if you're going to live on the beach, you need to know that statistically these days, there's a pretty good chance you're going to get smoked at some point.
I do find it interesting. Like I think we had an influx of like somewhere between 3 and 5 million people come to Florida after the pandemic. People moved here, and to be fair, during the pandemic, it was like the world was giving us a break. We didn't have any hurricanes.
Yep.
So on paper, you're like, if you're like New York or Texas or wherever, you're like, oh, look at that state. They're open. It's beautiful there. And then the second they all get here, nature tries to destroy everything. And it's got to be hard. I've never lived anywhere else,
Me neither.
I'm used to hurricanes. We're more inland, so we lose power. Things flood. But I don't deal with the major consequences of it all. And it's got to be just so strange if you're coming from Texas, where you get like a tornado maybe every once in a while.
Right.
To where here's a giant murder cloud that's coming at us. They keep using the word buzzsaw, honey. They say buzzsaw,
yes.
And they keep calling it the dirty side.
Yes. I don't know what that means, but it ain't good.
Yeah. And so I imagine when you're doing financial planning, is disaster in there? Like full-on catastrophic disaster of a storm?
Well, I mean, I don't know that we specifically talk about storms or catastrophic loss of property, but it's part of financial planning. If you're a property and casualty person, that's what they do. I have a property and casualty guy, And when I sit down with him, we look at my real estate, what's insured, how's it insured, is it insured properly, is there flood insurance, is there not flood insurance, is there an umbrella policy to guard against liability, and how does that work, and why? Insurance, property and casualty insurance is a dicey business. It's very complex and it's very confusing, just like any financial discussion. There's complexities to it. And if I'm being totally honest, property and casualty is one I'm not an expert in. So I have a person that I go to and I say, this doesn't make sense. Make it make sense, right? And then they say some things and I'm a little confused, but I feel a little better. And, I rely on them just like people rely on us. I rely on them to cut through the nonsense and the noise and say, Scott, this is what it costs and this is why. This is what it does for you. And insurance is a necessary evil. We all hate it. We all complain about it. But at the end of the day, if you don't have it and something goes awry, you're going to be woefully sorry, I think, in the long run.
Yeah, I was talking to somebody the other day, and they're like, "Yeah, I don't have like wind insurance for my roof. I just didn't insure it." And it's like, what?
Yeah, is that an option?
Yeah, because they own the house outright.
Oh, I gotcha.
And so they're like, "Yeah, I don't have to have the insurance. This house has been here for however long. It'll be fine."
Yeah.
And nothing would keep me up more at night.
Pompey was there for how long before things went right?
Yeah, hundreds of years.
Yes, Pompey's been here for 7,000 years. It's withstood all of these people coming and going, and then oops.
Yeah,
And certain mountain gets a fit, and they're like, "Oh."
That's actually a really, really good analogy.
Yeah, we need that volcano insurance. I told that volcano insurance man to come back.
Oh, you guys paid for the volcano insurance, idiots.
Great.
Idiopolis.
Idiocrates.
So now we know why Pompey is no longer there.
Yeah.
Because they didn't have insurance.
They didn't have the coverage.
They had to move. It's bad, but yeah, it's just the life comes at you and it comes at you hard and fast, and it's like we talked about last week, the known knowns and the known unknowns and the unknown unknowns.
Yeah, it's funny. I read this quote the other day that was a comforting delusion is thinking that other people's bad circumstances couldn't also happen to you. So you see something on the news and you're like, well, that couldn't happen to me. It's funny because I was talking to somebody last week and we were talking about like whenever you hear somebody sick or you hear somebody died, what's the first thing you say?
Why? How?
How'd they die?
Yeah.
Because you want to know how they died so you can convince yourself you couldn't die from that same thing.
Exactly.
Right? So they had a stroke. Oh, my blood pressure's low. I'm good. I'm not going to die from that.
Yep, every single time.
Yeah, and it's funny because that's how we delude ourselves. That happened to them, and here's why it can't happen to me. So, that's the whole premise of insurance, right, is to cover you against things that, in fact, could happen to you.
Wow. So, okay. So do people do that with when they come to you, where they're like, "Hey, my grandparents, they lost everything, but that's not going to happen to me. I don't know if I need all of this."
Yeah.
Are there? Well, first question: are there levels to the service that you provide, or is it all one thing? It's like this, you got the Edgewater Family Wealth, or is it tiers? How does this work?
Well, it depends on the complexity of the person, right? Obviously, somebody who's young and just starting out in life, a young couple, young individual, whatever, they've got different needs. They've got maybe small children they want to put through college, but their lives aren't complex yet. They're going to get there quickly, but maybe they've just started putting money in their IRA, their 401k. Maybe they've just started to save for that new home or whatever. So they don't have real estate everywhere and a different company and 3 different LLCs and all these other things, right? But so we provide them a different type of service to help them get started than we would say that entrepreneur who's been running an electrical contracting company for the last 40 years, right? That person, if they're successful, they may have 4 rental properties. They got the warehouse their business is in. They got the LLC that is the actual business. And then they have some philanthropic things that they like to do, and they need help with getting money out of an IRA and moving it over to their charitable organization. And maybe they've got grandkids they want to put through college, and maybe they have, like I said, different pieces of real estate that produce income, and then they have trust issues, and there's just a myriad of things that somebody develops. Somebody my age I turned 58 yesterday, I've got a bunch of crap, and I'm being completely honest. Like the other day I was talking to my son, and I'm like, we got to organize this stuff because there's this, that, and the other, and I own the building that my business is in, and I didn't have that when I was young. When I was young, I had some money in a checking account on a good day, right? And then I got married, and my wife said, stop acting that way, and I did, and then we had children, and that involved college planning, and we bought a house, and that's what happens over a lifetime. And that's, I think, another fair point is sometimes young people get the cart in front of the horse. They're like, why don't I have these things or these accounts Slow down. You're going to get there. Don't be in such a hurry. There's value in not having anything. Life is simpler. I remember those days, and I'm not saying it's better to be poor. That is absolutely not my point. Money's a good thing. You can do cool stuff with it. But also appreciate the journey. I tell my kids to enjoy the journey. And I know that's cliche, but enjoy the process. As I think young people say, embrace the suck, right? It's not, you're like, oh, I need more money and bills are this, but enjoy that part of the process because that's what makes the other side so much better when you get there.
And you know who will help you enjoy that process? Edgewater Family Wealth. That's right. EdgewaterFamilyWealth.com is the website you want to go to get a hold of them. They also have links to past episodes. There's blogs there. There's Financial Talk with Tammy. It's just a great resource if you are looking to plan for your future. So go there, and we'll be right back with more It's Only Money on Real Radio 104.1. Welcome back to It's Only Money here on Real Radio 104.1 with financial advisors Tammy and Scott Brown from Edgewater Family Wealth. To get a hold of Scott Brown, you go to EdgewaterFamilyWealth.com. And that's a website that's on the internet where Twitter also exists, by the way. Now, fellas, have you paid your $8 to get the blue check mark?
I am fully verified.
I made it myself. I just put it next to my name.
He took a marker and wrote on his screen.
Good. That's one way to do it, I guess. Yeah, I can't get enough because Elon Musk, one of the richest people in the world, seems to have bought Twitter. Mm-hmm. To burn it down?
Well, I think he was kind of forced to buy Twitter, for lack of a better way to put it. And I think he's going to work hard not to burn it down, but it's going to take him a minute. I mean, you can't. I read Elon Musk's biography many years ago when he first popped on the scene, or at least became known to most of us. And he's a fascinating, brilliant human being. Unfortunately, I think over the last couple of years, people have spent an inordinate amount of time telling him he's brilliant, and he's starting to believe it in every facet of life. We know socially he's a little awkward, so when you're running a social platform, that might be problematic for you. He came in and fired about, a third of the workforce, and then about a day later went, wait, we need people, it turns out. So, I'm rooting for the guy. I think he has gotten a little bit full of himself as of late, but hopefully he'll come correct on that. And I'm not a Twitter person anyway. I don't really get the whole Twitter thing, but apparently a few people like it. It'll be interesting to see how he melds that with his other businesses, with Tesla, with the Boring Company, with SpaceX. Is there some kind of super app idea that I think he does have, where he kind of out Facebook's Facebook and out PayPal's PayPal and out, I kind of think I see where he's going with that. The question is, will he step on a mine before he gets there?
Yeah, or start building lasers and shark pits and fighting against British secret agents. Like that's like how I always feel like he could go that turn as well.
Well, he's had a foot in that pool for sure.
Yeah, he's capable of that.
Yeah, but Twitter, never made any money. It was completely. It seems like Silicon Valley does this thing. They raise a bunch of money. They'll make a thing, like a really sometimes good thing, and then you find out it's made no money,
right,
and is not planned to make money for like another 5 years.
Sure.
Before they even make that first dollar. That's an interesting thing to me.
Well, Amazon and Tesla were in that category. For sure.
Well, again, that's what I'm saying. Like, so Twitter, not a real company. The most money it's made is because Elon actually bought it.
Yep.
But Tesla, real company.
Yep.
And he had to sell a bunch of shares to get that. So I believe, what's Elon Musk's share at right now? How much of the Tesla does he own?
About 14%.
14%.
Yeah.
But don't you? So when you guys, as financial advisors, good with money, always checking this stuff out. When you see Elon Musk has less control now of Tesla, do you guys look at that as a good or a bad thing?
Well, to me, it's a good and bad, but it's good. We can start with that side first because Elon has a track record of starting companies, and those have different, let's say, modes. Any company does.
Sure.
From the initiation to growth, then stability, etc. So he's good at the first two. Let's not forget he was on board when PayPal started, and then they bought him out, and PayPal continued, right? It grow bigger and bigger. He was good. He started Tesla. He built it up. He got those cars out. Different companies, different brands and different factories all over the world. But maybe now it's less, on the being innovative, more on growth, more on stability. So him stepping out of the picture, allowing the people to take over. And mind you, the second biggest investor in Tesla, you got Vanguard Investments, you got the Norwegian fund. So those are big institutionals. They won't let it go down without a fight if there is any. So it is good on that term because now you have more financial people standing behind it. But it's bad on the other term, as in the creativity may not be as much as before.
Well, I think it's how much of Tesla's success or panache is attributable to Elon Musk, right? How many people bought a Tesla because of Elon Musk? And I would argue the number's a lot.
There's a lot
of people bought a Tesla because of Elon Musk. And it's the same reason people are engaged with the Boring Company. And it's the same reason some people are going to be excited about him being involved in Twitter. There's all kinds of political noise about. I don't really think Elon's any more political than anybody else, other than I think it amuses him to be political from time to time or to appear political. But the reality is this could go either way, I think. This could be a catastrophic failure, or it could be an amazing win for him. I think the biggest question is, can it survive long enough for Elon Musk to make it into whatever it is he thinks it could be in his head? And whatever that is, I suspect is pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, he's got the ability to do whatever he wants. Now, let me ask you this. Are rich people bored? Because I think about it like in the way of like playing like a video game, right? Like video games are fun, but part of the video game is the challenges. And when you put in all the cheat codes and you're able to just put in God mode and go through it, it's fun for a minute, then it's kind of boring. Yeah. And then you just kind of put it down after that. Having a lot of money seems like a cheat code to life. Are the people on the higher end of the wealth spectrum bored more?
I think it's like anybody else.
Yeah.
It's who are they, right? I mean, if a person like Richard Branson, who spends a great deal of his time in wealth trying to make the world a better place, and we could argue whether he does or he doesn't. I don't really want to play that silly game. The man's trying, and I think
I'm not.
He has. No, I'm all about me, but no, somebody like that who has I know, as you can imagine, a lot of my clients, most if not all of my clients, have money, varying levels, but on average, they're wealthy people, and some of them lead very purposeful, meaningful, driven lives still. They're not content with just having money. They want to be involved in charitable organizations. They want to help their kids or help their employees or whatever. So they're not bored. They accumulated this wealth, and that was one phase of their lives, but now they want to take that wealth and either grow it or enhance the lives of their employees or their families or people they don't even know, right? That's true of the general population, whereas some people with money, they are kind of bored and they are kind of lost and they are kind of frustrated by life because now they have what they thought they wanted, but they're not any happier, right? We see this all the time with rock stars, celebrities, actors, athletes who seemingly should have the world by the tail because they just signed a $20 million deal or a $50 million deal, and now we see they're arrested for drug use or alcohol abuse, or they didn't treat their significant other well, or they're just cruddy people, it appears, right? So money didn't shield them from that. So I would say that wealthy people are no different than anybody else. There's a group of them that are wonderfully nice, kind, generous, purpose-driven human beings. And there's some of them that are jerks, just like people who don't have money.
So charity isn't just like a tax break, then. Like that's not how most people would look at it. Then.
Well, I think if you're not wealthy, that is how you see. Because sometimes I see a post on LinkedIn or Facebook where somebody says, "Oh, this rich person gave away this money and did this great thing," and then some people go, "Good for him," but a lot of people go, "Oh, he only did it for the tax break, or he only did it because somehow it benefits him," and they go care. And I'm like, well, I mean, if it's funny to me that the selflessness makes some people uncomfortable, and I think the people selflessness makes uncomfortable is people who aren't selfless. Because they assume they wouldn't do that, right?
Like if every time I see somebody, they're like, I'm donating my time to this charity. I'm going to bet you won't.
But I mean, that's a reflection. I know you're kidding, but I mean, for some people, that's a true statement. As soon as they see somebody doing something that appears to be good, they're cynical about it. And I think, and sometimes they're right. Sometimes it's fair, but on average, it's not fair. And, there's the guy from Patagonia, the company Patagonia, who's a multi-illionaire, and he's decided to give his company to his employees and all the wealth that comes with that, which is immense. And I saw that post on LinkedIn, and I thought, oh, how good for you. You're wealthy, and there's no denying you're comfortable and happy and whatever, but you've decided to pay it forward, as they say, and let your employees benefit proportionately like you have. And then I watched the post roll in of people claiming he was doing it for this bad reason and that bad reason. And I'm like, look, I'm going to say it again. If you see somebody doing something selfless or kind and it makes you uncomfortable, that is a reflection on you. It is not a reflection on them.
Very, very interesting. I tend to see a lot of that too. But what I also just learned is successful people use LinkedIn and have LinkedIn antidotes where I have one's about Facebook.
We're going to get you on the LinkedIn.
I have a LinkedIn. You know what? I got to get on that. I got to take myself more seriously. Is there people on LinkedIn that are constantly ranting at all times, though, like Facebook is?
LinkedIn is a better sanctuary against that. It does happen. People do get political and carry on and self-righteous and all those kind of Facebooky things, but it's greatly diminished on LinkedIn compared to Facebook.
I think my favorite website is EdgewaterFamilyWealth.com. That's right. That is where you go to get a hold of Scott and Tammy, who are both genuine dudes and a lot of fun. That's my that's my endorsement. They're genuine dudes.
Very, very little hate on the Edgewater Family Wealth.
Very little hate. Yeah. You keep no crazy posting on there. What is posted on there? Financial talks, blogs, past episodes of It's Only Money. So go check that out, and we'll be right back with more It's Only Money here on Real Radio 104.1. Welcome back to It's Only Money here on Real Radio 104.1 with Tammy and Scott Brown, financial advisors with Edgewater Family Wealth. EdgewaterFamilyWealth.com is that website. And, okay, I gotta talk to you about, okay, so last week we talked about vacations. You went on a vacation, and I was like, oh, do you plan for that financially? And I took that to heart, and I did that because I don't buy things for myself, right? I buy like experiences. I guess I like trips. I like going places. I like eating dinner.
Yep.
And I like that more than having a fancy car.
And I'm going to stop. Is that generational, you think? Because I think that's true of your generation more so than my generation. I'm like, by a month, I'm a boomer. I'm really not. I'm more of a Gen Xer. But by a month, technically, I'm a boomer. And I think boomers...
A baby boomer.
I am a baby, the babyest of boomers.
Yes.
and my generation was more we came out of the 80s, consumerism, flashy stuff, Charlie Sheen, et cetera, et cetera. And we were more stuff driven. The vibe I get from your generation is they are more into the experience side of things.
Yeah, I think that's correct. I know I don't see if my Instagram across my friends, it's never like, look at my new this. It's always like, I'm here. And they're always somewhere kind of crazy and fun. And I like that better because I guess I could have a nicer couch or whatever the item is, but I don't feel anything with that. When I look at photos or the videos or think about the times I had with my fiance in Germany, that is worth all of the money in my brain.
Yeah.
So I went and got I I'm a big Blink-182 fan. And I tried to buy tickets here in Tampa. But the tickets for floor seats, because it's the whole band back together. Scott, I don't know if you know the history of Blink-182, but everybody's back together, right? Big deal for me. I'm old now. I could afford tickets, but the tickets ended up being like $2,000 for floor seats by the time it was done. Yes. So I saw somebody just make this like kind of frivolous post. They said, wow, you know, for as much as you see Blink-182 in the States, you can fly to a third world country, spend a week vacation, and get tickets for that same kind of price. And I was like, is that real? So I looked into it, and I was able to get tickets for $250 for both me and my fiance, floor tickets in Vienna, Austria.
Oof. Wow.
And the plane ticket was only $1,400 for both of us. So I was like,
oh my gosh.
And I was like, oh, I'm doing that.
Yeah.
Because it would have been, I would have bought the tickets. My fiance, very level-headed, does not kind of let me make most of the zany purchases I want to do. And she goes, Ryan, that's a whole vacation that we were doing in 2 hours of one night. You know, and that's the first time I was like, oh yeah, and it's just in stinky Tampa.
Yeah,
you know, so for me, I felt that was a good investment. Now I have a vacation plan for next year around that.
That's incredible,
and that's where money, I find its value. Can I do these things?
Yes,
you know,
money gives you control, doesn't it? I mean, to some degree, that's what we all want. We want control over our time and over our lives and over our outcomes. We can't always control our outcomes, but money, people, I don't know what people think about the wealthy, like they're rolling around in their money in a bedroom.
Scrooge McDuck style.
Yeah, Scrooge McDuck, you know, they rub honey over their bodies and then roll in it so it sticks out. Maybe that's just me. But
I've seen Indecent Proposal. That's what you do when you get $1 million.
That's right. But money, if it's understood properly, is freedom. It's control. It's control over your time. Because if you don't have money, you don't control your own time, right? Because the power company's controlling your time. Your boss is controlling your time. That overtime that you didn't want to take now has to be taken. That second job maybe you didn't want to take now has to be taken. Or that thing you wanted to go do as per your description, you can't do, so you're not controlling that time. So I think the best way to look at money, I think the healthy way to look at it is it enables you to purchase freedom and time and control. And, you know, some people say, well, the root of all evil is money. No, the root of all evil is the love of money or the lack of money. That creates a lot of evil. If people don't have money, they resort to crime and things like that because they don't understand a legitimate way how to get it. They get frustrated, they get short-sighted, and they take a shortcut, which is to hold up a liquor store or steal something that doesn't belong to them. So understanding economics and money in a healthy kind of way is empowering. And that's not to say, listen, money can't, I said once in an article, money will not bring you life's happiest moments. The birth of a child, marrying the love of your life, watching a sunset, nor can it protect you from life's worst moments, which are the illness of a loved one or the loss of a loved one. But it sure makes the stuff in between a heck of a lot better or more palatable. So I think that the best way to view money, and I think to your generation's credit, they realized and probably learned from their parents, is that, yeah, my dad has a Porsche, but he's a miserable SOB, right? Whereas, well, why don't me and my friends go to Austria to see Blink-182 or go on a journey to go to Red Rocks and go see the Avett Brothers like I did? Or, those are things nobody can take from me, and they won't get old and they won't fall apart and they won't go to the junkyard or to the dump at some point.
Side note, are you going to the Jason Isbell concert at the Dr. Phillips?
I am not.
Oh, I am going. It's going to be awesome.
I know it is.
It's funny you say that, but like it's, as far as like buying happiness, we've talked about how like if you hit like, $70K a year, you technically don't get any happier overall. And right. I did see this. They did an experiment with 200 people and they were given $10,000 to spend. Like these researchers did this. And to see like if they could buy happiness. And they kind of did like a Brewster's Millions situation where like you have this money and you have to spend it in a certain amount of time and it all has to be spent. And they actually found that like people were happy and then they were happy for like a long period of time after that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's also, they found it where, and this always makes sense to me too, where you were at depended on how happy you got. So they did this to Americans. Americans were happy, but like for a shorter period of time afterwards, and compared to like they went to Kenya and a couple other like third world places, Indonesia, Brazil, and Kenya, and those people were reported themselves as 4 times happier and for longer.
Right.
And I've noticed that about different countries where you go to a third world country, they do seem weirdly happier.
I would agree with
to
that.
A certain,
where
to
I've
a
been
certain,
anyway, yes.
Yeah, to a certain degree. Like I know life's a little bit harder and stuff, but it seems like for some reason we're super stressed and killing ourselves. And I watched my mom do that. Like my mom's a single mom, owned her own business, but worked hard. Construction, wallpaper, all of that kind of stuff. And I think you're right. I looked at maybe subconsciously, maybe consciously, and go, I don't want to do that. You know, because it's just work. My dad, same way. My dad, 90. All he did was work his entire life. And he had stuff. He would buy like a Jaguar once, but it was like, all right. But he still got to go to work, never saw him.
Yep. Yep.
So I do think we are a generation that looks at that, but it's probably also social media that has a big part of that. Because once one person goes on vacation, you're like, I want to do that too.
Well, think about though, like your dad's Jaguar, because that did nothing to further his control of his time. In fact, it probably went the other way, right? So if you make some good money, you know, you've got a good income and you're out of college or high school or wherever you are, but now you're making more money than you used to make, and then you buy a thing, and then you make a little more money than you used to be, and then you buy another thing, but there's payments on those things, whether that's a house or a car or a ring or a watch or a couch or whatever it is. Well, you didn't buy your time back. You actually, at best, it was a wash. You're standing pat on your time. Whereas a person who, if they make more money and they invest it, and I don't care what it is, stocks, bonds, real estate, I don't care. But if let's say it was real estate, you bought a rental house with that money instead of a Jaguar, and now that rental house is, you've got a net income of another $500 a month or whatever it turns out to be over time. That is freed up more time that you don't have to go to your job, right? Or allowed you to retire earlier, which is still getting your time back, right? And let's face it, I mean, we've said it 1,000 times on this show to the point where I'm sick of saying it, but it needs to continue to be said is we're only on this rock for a little while, right? And what we're all really fighting for is our time, the freedom to use our time the way we want to use it. That's what most people want more than they may not even know it. They want to be loved and they want the freedom of their time. They want to be respected. These are 2 or 3 of the 4 or 5 things we really want as human beings, and people get confused. And again, I'm not saying stuff ain't cool. I like some stuff. I like to travel. But what we're really all trying to do is gain control over our lives and our time. And if you take any incremental gain you get in wealth and turn it into another liability in the form of a car or something you really 5 years from now won't care about, the opportunity you had to control your time, you just gave away.
Wow. You just dropped some truth bombs, Scott.
You're welcome.
And if you want to talk to Scott more, EdgewaterFamilyWealth.com is the website to go to. Plus the blogs, past episodes. All this information is free. It's online right now. We just post it, and you can check out past episodes. Honestly, my finances gotten way better just doing this show. So it's just I do the free version of Edgewater Family Wealth. It's this. But go to Edgewater Family Wealth and talk to Scott and Tammy, and we'll be right back with more It's Only Money here on Real Radio 104.1. Welcome back to It's Only Money here on Real Radio 104.1. I'm here with financial advisors from the illustrious Edgewater Family Wealth. Scott and Tammy are here, and if you want to get a hold of them, you just go to EdgewaterFamilyWealth.com, or you just stay tuned in on a Sunday. But we do have past episodes there. There's blogs, financial talk, all kinds of stuff, free resources you can use at EdgewaterFamilyWealth.com, including the fact that you can email us. EdgewaterFamilyWealth at RaymondJames.com is the website. And I can guess because I got questions for you, Scott.
We're ready.
All right. First question comes from Anne Marie in Claremont, and it says, "Hi guys, I love the show, but I do have a question. So when you set somebody up for their retirement and they say they get $4,000 a month, they have a certain amount invested, but they get $4,000 a month to live off of. If they don't spend all of that money, what do they do? Do they put it into a checking account? Do they reinvest it? How does that work? Love the show. Hashtag Anne Marie. I don't know why you hashtagged your own name, but you did.
It's a nice name. I do like that name.
Anne Marie,
It's a kind of it, like you picture somebody very sweet.
Yes.
You hear the name Anne Marie.
No, there's never been an atrocity committed by an Anne Marie.
No, Anne Marie never creates mass hysteria or murder of any kind.
Anne Marie doesn't scream, "I need to speak to a manager." She'll eat her slightly cold chicken.
That's right.
And just be grateful that as she looks across at her husband, what a happy life she has.
She does.
That's an Anne Marie.
That's a happy name. Anybody, if you're lucky enough to be named Anne Marie, you've got a good life ahead of you.
Yes.
What was the question?
The question basically boils down to if somebody has an income where they're pulling it in from their stock market or whatever, and they're set like, I need to make $4,500 a month. If they don't spend it all, what does happen to that money?
Yeah. So, I mean, it varies. You don't have to. There's no rule you have to spend it. What you take in, you have to spend. You're more than welcome to save it. A lot of clients, when we sit down and we do the planning for them, they'll say something like, "Hey, I need $4,000 a month to subsidize my Social Security or whatever." So we, typically we'll give them a little bit of a surplus over and above whatever they ask for, and that's just in case the transmission goes out or the air conditioner blows up or the roof, whatever. And historically, people. Let me say this first: if somebody tells me they want to spend $6,500 a month, most of the time, they're going to spend $6,500 a month, right? And that's okay, because, again, that's what we just talked about in previous segments, is that we're saving so that we can do things. We can go places, and we can buy the things maybe we waited a lifetime to buy. So there's nothing wrong with that. So on average, people don't have a ton of surplus when it comes to that monthly amount that we're sending to them. But if they do, typically what will happen at the end of the year, we'll have a planning meeting. We'll sit down and say, Scott, you were sending me $4,000 a month, but I have $32,000 in my checking account. And I'll say, well, how did that happen? They say, because I only spent $2,000 a month, right? So, okay, well, maybe it makes sense for us to have a conversation about that. So this money that we're sending you, in some cases, if it's coming from an IRA or something that's what we call qualified in the business, maybe you're paying taxes on money you don't need to be paying taxes on, right? We may say, well, then if you're not spending it, stop taking it, because you're sending you're sending money unnecessarily to the federal government, which I'm sure they appreciate, but again, you may not want to do, right? So that's thing number one. Thing number two would be, okay, well, if you're not spending it all, do you feel like you have enough in savings? And if so, then maybe, or too much in savings, maybe some of that $32,000 you only wanted $20,000, and you feel like that's $12,000 too much to have in savings, earning a nominal rate of return. Let's put it back into your investments that got you here in the first place, right? So there's no right or wrong there. It's certainly better to get spend less than you're taking in most times. But if it gets to be, if you're 73 years old, you've worked your whole life, and we're sending you $5,000 a month and you're spending $2,000, well, first of all, I'm going to say, well, why? Go do something, right? You'd be surprised how many times I have to do that.
Really?
I have clients who maybe go too far the other way, where they're too practical. Like, Mary, Jim, you haven't been on a trip in years. Why? Well, we just didn't want. Well, you didn't want to spend the money. Well, you've got $50,000 in your checking account you didn't have last year. How about take 10 and go somewhere, right? So you people would be surprised. I think way more frequently do I have that conversation with, go do something. You wanted a Corvette, you can afford a Corvette, get the Corvette. I have that conversation more than you're spending too much, way more, surprisingly. So, sometimes people can be frugal to a fault and practical to a fault. I think, again, if you get to the end of the road and you didn't do the thing, you didn't go to Germany or you didn't go see Blink-182 in Austria, but you got a whole boatload of money in your account. I don't know that you won.
Yeah.
So I would say there are various ways to address that. On average, people kind of spend to their budget.
Yeah, nobody goes, man, I wish I would have just stayed at home and watched more Netflix.
Yeah,
on their deathbed.
I've not heard that one. No.
Yeah, that's interesting. But I imagine it would lend itself to people who are not concerned about money, but they think about money and they come to you. They're not going to be frivolous to start with, so it's almost hard. Like you have to talk them into. Yeah,
there is an element sometimes of that with people. They're like, Scott, I'll make up the numbers, but it's not far off, is I'll quite frequently have a client who could easily spend $200,000 a year spending 70. And they'll say, we were thinking about going to Europe, but I don't know about the money. I'm like, are you kidding me? I mean, come on. But that's what they've taught themselves. So in an effort to be practical and get to this point, but once you've gotten to where you need to go, to use it, enjoy it, take your grandkids somewhere, go out to dinner one more time, buy that stupid car that you probably wouldn't have bought 20 years ago. Now's the time, right? When you get to the promised land, take advantage of it. Most people go awry by not doing the things in the beginning to get them to the promised land, versus people who've gotten to the promised land, for lack of a better description, who oftentimes I have to talk them into taking advantage of it.
That's so funny. Your next question comes from me, who doesn't know what this means. No, because I was reading the other day that the mortgage, like Wells Fargo, 90% of their mortgage originations, they're down 90%, which it sounds like an insane number. And I look at that as a regular person and go, uh-oh, that's it, because they're talking about laying off people and blah, blah. By the way, they have a giant mortgage staff. I guess they're the biggest mortgage.
I believe that's true.
Yeah, in the United States. So they got a ton of business. So to go from 90, now they got 240,000 people just twiddling their thumbs. But then I remembered a thing that I learned on this show, which because I do listen and I pay attention, and it's that the Fed purposely brought up interest rates so the housing market would cool down. But this seems like that's a lot.
That's a freeze, yeah. That's more than a cool down.
So is this what did they go too far, or did they hit exactly what they were going for when you see something like that?
Well, they'll never hit exactly the
No, there's no exact. This is not an exact business.
Yeah, it's never that. There's always a range, and they try to hit that anywhere in between. Now just think about it for a minute. If what you just said, you said it in the middle of the void, yes, it would sound bad. But as we do in the financial world, we don't say stuff out of the void or like nothing around it. We have to see where it fits. So if you look up 2 years before and you see how much increase of real estate we had, and let's just give an example, in the state of Florida, you'd see that a place like Tampa went up in price about 35% in 1 year. So you put that, and then you put that, and you think...
it's not Tampa, by the way. I think he just called it Stinky Tampa.
I only call it Stinky Tampa because for $2,000, I'm not going to Tampa.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
It does smell of cigars, though.
It does,
yeah.
It does. And Austria is gorgeous. It's uncomparable.
It's no Tampa.
Yeah.
Sorry, Tampa.
So, 90% is not as bad as it sounds, actually. Now, and you look even at numbers, I think I looked at it last week, the median price of housing in Florida, it's been dropping, but still on the year, it's 14% up.
Yeah, so I mean, I think the essence of your question was, is that what they were trying to do? And I think to some degree, yes. I mean, obviously, the Fed... bless its heart, over the years, as we say in the South, it's never going to get it exactly right, and it's probably not even going to get it mostly right. It's going to get it a little bit right. And did they want mortgage apps to drop 90%? Probably not. Did they want them to drop 40%? Or probably. So, the bottom line is they need to slow the growth of inflation, and in order to do that, they have to kind of tighten up the money supply so it's not as easy for people to borrow, because if it's easier for them to borrow, it's easier for them to spend. And if they bought a house at this rate and there's more money out there, then the next person that buys the house can pay a higher price, and so on and so forth. So that's how we curb inflation. So the reality is, did they hit their mark exactly? No. Did they get essentially where they wanted to go to kind of start to slow this thing down? The answer is probably yes. Okay,
so to use your analogy from a few shows ago, this was the medicine, this was the shot that they were giving us, and now we're getting better, but we're still going through it.
It's a medically induced coma, as I like to say.
All right. Well, see, I that's why I love this show. I saw something that I would have normally been like, oh, that's bad, and now with you guys, I'm like, That's what they were doing, sort of.
They kind of meant to do that.
They kind of meant to do it a little bit, but I feel better about it thanks to Edgewater Family Wealth and EdgewaterFamilyWealth.com. If you want to get a hold of Scott and Tammy, that's the website you want to go to. And you spent another Sunday with us, and we hope you spend the next one as well. I'm Ryan from the Monsters here with Scott and Tammy. Scott, Tammy,
Have a good one.
have a good one. We'll see you next Sunday.
Yeah, and clearly people are rich, right? Or wealthy. You don't have to be rich. I like the term wealthy better. I mean, to rich reminds me of like the Monopoly guy or something. But, you know, they're people, they're regular people.
Now that guy I trust.
Yeah,
See, the problem, Scott, you don't have a monocle.
Monocle is, now, if you can meet a guy with a monocle, I mean, like, I'm all in.
What was his financial advice? He said buy Park Place?
Where is that?
Where is that? I can't find it.
Tune in to It's Only Money with Scott Brown from Edgewater Family Wealth, Sunday mornings at 7 on Real Radio 104.1. Raymond James Financial Services, Inc., member FINRA SIPC. Edgewater Family Wealth is not a broker-dealer, is independent of RJFS.